Hello, Facebook. So I'm doing a live here. I was screwing around with some other technology that didn't quite work. So I'm trying this a second time. I'm going to invite Valerie in, which she is super ready, as Val has done this before. Hello, Maria. So me and Val are going to be talking about why you are not your circumstances and how to get unstuck. Val, I apologize again for technological mishaps,
No
but I'm
worries.
going to learn that software because it's way easy, like where our names are on the bottom and everything was super cool. Hi, Jessica. So I was just introducing that we were going to be talking about how to not be stuck in our circumstances, how to find the strength in order to get out of these situations. Oh, look at Gina, so nice. Um, so, Val, my
Jess.
question for you.
Uh-huh.
Um, when people get stuck in their circumstances and they feel like they can't get out of it, what do you think is the biggest reason why that happens?
I think it's mainly because they just don't know another way. It's like you don't know what you
Mm,
don't know.
that's true.
You know what I mean? Like you just sometimes you need someone who maybe has been through something similar or a mentor to help you kind of navigate when you get in that place because maybe you don't have the skills to get yourself out of it, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
No, that makes sense. Well, and again, so again, you guys, all these conversations are very candid. We sort of like generally know what we're talking about here, but I know like Val, you and I had talked about last night, um, kind of that the difference between like just getting unstuck and actually thriving, and that sometimes like we don't know what that opportunity even looks like we don't even know that that's available to us. Like, people gave me shit all the time about, you're running an online fitness business, like how are you going to do that? I was like, I don't really know, and I had a couple people I was kind of modeling, but a lot of times like you don't know that you have to just be able to take that step forward.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
how have you personally been able to step forward?
So for me, and a lot of my people know my background and my story, but for those of you that I'm just meeting now through Jess, which by the way, isn't she amazing, you guys? Like, I seriously love this girl so much.
Val and I have known each other, what, 2 years, 3 years now?
It's been, yeah, closer to 3 or 4.
Oh,
Time
time flies when you're
flies
having fun.
when when you're having fun.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we met through Women's Prosperity Network. So that's amazing. And Jess knows my story, but for those of you who I'm just meeting, my background is in clinical social work, and so I worked in the field doing, really counseling and mental health and helping people with resources for like over 10 years. And, there were times when I look back now that I thought I was stuck. But really, I was doing fine. And then in 2013, my husband and I got married, and 3 weeks later, I lost both of my parents very tragically. And it was the ultimate stuck. I mean, I've
Mm-hmm.
described it like being in a total body cast. It's almost like you were hit by a bus, but you're just emotionally paralyzed. And the recovery process is kind of like, again, being just in a total body cast and having to peel it back one by one, and one bandage at a time. And so for me it was really just devastating, and I was like the ultimate stuck. I didn't leave my house. I didn't want to do much. I really was lost, honestly. And so I had to come up with some way to get through it. And fortunately, because of my background in mental health, number one, I knew that I needed help. I knew that I needed someone to support me, to get me through it. And I also knew there was, this was going to be a process. And so I think the first thing is just having the awareness and also having the desire. So awareness and desire, and for those who are watching, I recommend just jot down an area where you feel like, hey, maybe I'm a little bit stuck here, or maybe there's a hurdle that I have that I want to get past. And I'm sorry, my phone is like blowing up and I keep having to put the,
Swipe.
yeah. Plus I have a dog like right here, which is ridiculous. Yeah, I
Baba.
know he has to be like right where I'm at. So I recommend just writing down, what's an area that you feel like, hey, maybe I could be doing a little better in this area, whether that's physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually. We all have things that we come up against in our life, and awareness is the first step. So just having that awareness, like, hey, I'm really kind of stuck here, or maybe I'm just in the grind or just getting by, and my desire is to be more or do more or have more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm thinking about what you said too, is because I was working on some of this stuff yesterday. Is like first the identification process of like identifying, like first, like where are you stuck? What's actually like the root holding you back? And sometimes it's just a feeling, like one of my past classmates actually wrote, like when I wake up in the morning, I just feel like something's missing or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Like there's just something else beyond. And like I've experienced that multiple times, like growing my business, of like there's something else there, like there's something behind another door and I don't know where it is, but it's just like continuing to follow that. And I like to it, you said like you felt like you were super stuck, but you kind of weren't, like you were still moving through it. Like being stuck doesn't mean all of a sudden you're going to wake up and like you saying the bandages, right? Of like being unstuck doesn't mean like whew, like oh, I'm free, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it's going to be an
It's a
unraveling, and
process.
sometimes a process, and sometimes that process like doesn't look the way that we expect it to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we had talked about this the other day too, of like for me I have to spiral a little bit, and like I have to go into this world of like complete like self-absorption and like trying to figure things out, and like I'll go into my room and just be like trying to figure shit out, and it's really uncomfortable. It's really really uncomfortable, but sometimes like that's part of the process. It doesn't always feel easy, it doesn't always look good, it doesn't always look the way that we want it to look. Like with yours, your journey was all, some really good highs, right? And probably a lot of really low lows
Oh, for
during that process
sure.
of getting stuck.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, for sure. And it's like stuck isn't really the exact right word.
Yeah.
I don't know what, how you could describe it, because I feel like stuck can have sort of a negative feeling to it, but it's not about making yourself bad or making this a negative thing. It's more of, just awareness of, hey, maybe in this aspect of my life, I want to be doing something different. And I think it goes back to, I was talking yesterday with my friend Stacy, and she specializes in helping people with their financial challenges and
Mm-hmm.
their financial goals. And we were talking about how, when she and I talk to people, whether it's about finances or just about their life in general, and we ask them, what are your dreams for your life, or what are your dreams for your finances? A lot of times they have a really hard time defining that. They have a really hard
Yeah.
time expressing that. And it's like, hey, that's an area where maybe we could do some work. Like, let's get back to what those dreams were. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because right now, like Jason and I are working on the main Florida house, right? And like if anybody had told me that like 2 or 3 years ago, like, oh yeah, like I can have a summer home and be a snowbird, like I'd be like, what are you talking about? But really, like when you get clarity on that, like identify where that barrier is, if it's finances or whatever, not being able to manage your finances and outsourcing that, like hey, you're actually the one that referred me to my financial advisor, Byron, who I still
I
use.
know
So
all the
like
best people.
you seriously do. You
I'm
seriously
so
do. So like
grateful.
so like Byron's been helping me with that so it can actually be a reality and like do the things that need to be done. Um yeah, and looking at the bigger picture and not thinking so small, right? So talking about that thriving, or you use the word prospering, which I really like, instead of kind of keeping ourselves in this box. But of course, also like focusing on just the next step. I think there's also a place where we can get overwhelmed. Like sometimes Jason and I will get overwhelmed if we think too much about the snowbird thing. We're like, how are we gonna pull this off? Like, what house? You know what I mean? Like, there's so much in between, like getting to where you want to be. Of
Yeah.
like, it's good to just focus on the next step, like the next step.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Can I go back to what you said about being in the box?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, and I didn't even realize this, working in the field of social work for someone else was keeping me in a box. And I'm not saying that that's for everyone, because social workers are freaking amazing. Like,
Mm-hmm. For sure.
seriously,
For sure.
the impact that they make, this is not to minimize that in any way, because they're just awesome and highly undervalued. And for me, it was keeping me in a box. It was keeping me in a comfortable place. You know,
Mm-hmm.
with a master's degree and 10 years of experience, I actually had a decent salary,
Mm-hmm.
and I was doing pretty well as far as social workers go. And I will tell you that in many ways, what happened with my parents actually was a gift. And I know that sounds crazy wild, right? Like, how can you even say that, right? And I can tell you that it set me free in a lot of ways. And it supported me in really unlocking what I truly have to bring to the world.
I love that because you're turning trauma essentially into positive, right? Like you're spinning it around and now you're able to help other people. And I honestly felt the same way working in therapy. Like I tell people I do very similar work that I do in the physical therapy world
Yes.
that I do in my business.
Mm-hmm.
It's just completely different. Like the work can look very similar, but like the people you're working with are so different. You aren't kind of kept under corporate, right? Like you have to follow their certain regulations and rules and the way that they document, right? In the medical community, the
Uh,
documentation and all that's like,
oh gosh, I know. That's when my handwriting got so terrible.
yeah, because you're
I
just
mean,
like
it wasn't
scribbling
good to begin
things.
with, but then it got like even worse
Yeah.
from all the documentation. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just the
Totally.
way the patient care and all that stuff, the kind of that whole industry sometimes. So yeah, like even branching out a little bit, like it's and I think that's a big thing too, the unstuck thing. I think a lot of the time we feel stuck because we're really not serving in the way that we want to. I know that was
Yes.
for me. Like I just kept
Mm-hmm.
feeling like I need to go deeper. I need to
Mm-hmm.
go deeper with people because it is really rewarding to serve people in our highest good. But I think we are kind of pushed down in a lot of ways from the positions that we're working. Like we feel limited. And you know, we can be grateful for those positions. I'm so grateful for all the experience I had in the medical field, you know, working
Oh
in
yeah, absolutely.
tons
Mm-hmm.
of different, right, clinics and things like that. But it's still like, so, you just feel this need, like you're just like, I need to move beyond this.
Yes.
And
And
it's
I think
okay.
that's really what we're talking about, is when you have that feeling, it's it's pursuing it, right? It's, instead of pushing it down, it's actually, what is this about? And how can I more fully express who I am and go with
Mm.
this, versus pushing it down because we don't think we can.
Or fear. I'm just thinking like,
Yeah.
you know, my getting out of my relationship last year, which I appreciate everything in that relationship, everything. But still, like, there was that feeling of like, you need to move on. That's actually where I kind of tapped into my spirituality because I felt like somebody was shaking me, just like,
Yes. I
you need
wanted
to
to
do
shake
this.
you.
Yeah.
I wanted to, but I didn't, because I
You
knew
were
you.
so good, Val. You were so good. You were letting me process. And I
Yeah.
think that's important too, is having people in your corner who allow you to process, who don't try to put their demands on you or don't try to minimize you. Like Jason and I often say, we amplify each other. Like if we want to
I
pursue
love
something,
that.
it's like, yeah, it's like, okay,
Hmm.
like you can do that. And having conversation with an old friend, it's so weird. He was my prom date when I was 16, and he's like 10 minutes down the road, I just found out. How
Wow.
weird is that? And anyway, I met up with him, and he was talking about how he's thinking bigger now and bigger, but the people that he's around are still trying to keep him small.
Mm.
And that's so hard. It's like almost impossible to step beyond that when the people in your circle aren't really supporting that, or they don't really see it with you.
Yeah, and that's definitely a challenge. And that's something with my workshops and my coaching clients that we talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a reason that that person is staying with that circle. And so it's
True.
really getting to the bottom of, what is it that's keeping you there? Because again, we have choice. That's the amazingness about how we were created, is that we have choice. And so it's really talking about, what is it that's keeping you? What's the buy-in? What's the payoff for you? And let's look at maybe, if you really want this thing, this, to pursue this or be more, do more, have more, let's talk about how we can shift that so that you really are supported, and that's the thing. Like people like you, Jess, having people like you in my life has been such a gift and such a
Oh,
blessing. It's true. And that's the cool thing. And I also really, I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but I also know I had a part in that. I chose that. I chose to put myself in those circles with those people who are my, my champions, the ones that are like,
mm-hmm.
"Hey, you can do this,
Mm-hmm.
you absolutely can do this, and I believe in you and I support you." And it's a two-way thing, and so yeah, it's interesting. That's a big part of the getting unstuck thing, is
For
who
sure.
looking at who are you around.
Yeah, and knowing that, I mean, even when you're moving into new friendships that feel really good and supportive, like there is some pain around that. Like you're losing other relationships, and part of it too, I feel like you're almost like losing parts of yourself, but it was parts of like your old identity, right?
Mm.
And like it can be really challenging to move into that new space and surround yourself by people who are going to bring you up better. Like you're really entering like a newer, more true version of yourself is how I
Yes,
think of it. Like you're moving into the more authentic version of
completely.
yourself
Yes.
versus the way that maybe more negative people kind of held you down here. And I read something the other day, it was a video or something, and saying like, oh, you shouldn't have negative people around your life because they'll bring you down. Um, and it was interesting because the conversation was something about like, well, the negative people need help too. But I think too, like you can, it depends. Like you need to surround yourself with people. Like it's okay to be negative every once in a while and be like, you know what I mean? I think
Oh,
there's
we
also
all have a
something
bad day.
exactly
Yeah,
versus like,
or a
oh, we don't need to
moment.
be yes, or me like spiraling out of control, like anxiety and all sorts of things. Like
Mm-hmm.
the moving into your next level of self doesn't mean like you're never going to be negative, but it also, or your friends around you are never going to be negative, right? Like appreciating the highs and the lows again during the process. But more so just surrounding yourself, I think, with people who are dedicated to their growth, like a growth mindset
Yes. Mm-hmm.
instead of kind of that static mindset, which I'm sure a lot of us know that kind of that difference and what people
Yeah.
are just kind of like not only negative but just stuck, like they don't want to move no matter what you say, no matter what you do, like they're comfortable there and you can't change that, and that's okay. Like you just have to walk away and send them with love.
Yeah, totally. And it's there are different ways that people, kind of function, and some people function in that victim space of,
Yeah.
poor me, this happened to me, not taking really accountability. And again, it's not to say, I don't really believe in putting a label of that's bad or good, or even really positive and negative. That's just how they're functioning. And the honest truth is that we're all just doing the best we can. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's just going, okay, this person, these people maybe are functioning in that kind of victim mindset. Maybe this group is kind of just getting by. And then these people are, like you said, like the growth mindset, the thrivers, the ones that, want to, be the pebble in the pond that creates the ripple effect to
Mm-hmm.
impact other people, impact our community, impact the world at large, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of where do you fall? Where do you want to be? Where do you want to surround yourself? So that's really an important part of moving into the next level of your life. And that's, it really is. It can totally change your, how you're feeling, how you're doing, it's such a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I know when I started moving out of certain circles or certain relationships, like it was like night and day. I mean, it was crazy. Because, you know, we're meant to be in kind of tribes, right? So
Yes.
like we want to fit in with whoever we're around. So like if we witness people kind of doing great things, or like I always say with Jason, like the more like he's just constantly growing and creating value, and I just am respecting all the things that he does, that even just like being in his presence every day, I'm like, I want to do more. And I'm always asking him, like, am I thinking too small? And he's like, yeah, you're thinking too small. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like, let me go see what else I can like create, manifest.
And I love that about you, because the thing is, you could take that information and you could say, oh gosh, he said that I'm thinking too small, and you see how the energy shifts that like that. But you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's awesome, because it opens your mind to something different, to considering something different.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
that's the difference. You see the difference between how that feels.
I was going to mention that too, is like when you're moving into a place where people around you are doing really great things, like sometimes it can make you feel smaller if you're not really strong enough in your own confidence. Like Val, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, of like me in the comparison trap, right? Like if I get into this kind of place of, but this person's doing this and that person's doing this and I'm not doing that enough and right? Like you can get wound up being around these really positive, great people in your circles thinking that you're inadequate.
Mm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that I've experienced that, and it takes a lot of strength to kind of come through that and be like, no, like look at everything I've created, and having conversations about that too when you do feel inadequate. Again, like when we're moving to our higher selves, right? Like that doesn't mean we're always confident 100% of the time. Like there are so many times that
Right.
we continue to have to face more doubt and a lot of fear and just restriction where we're feeling kind of stuck. So yeah, understanding like it's okay to not have that confidence and kind of continue to just move through that and see it for what it is, right? That awareness and that kind of identification of like observing yourself when you're getting stuck in that place.
Yes. Again, going back to awareness and just being in touch with what's going on.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, because from one of my mentors, because I am a coach, I believe in having coaches and mentors in different areas, a personal trainer, a spiritual coach, an emotional coach, a business coach. So one of my mentors says, really, you can get to that place of amazingness once you get to okay.
Ooh,
And
that's good.
yeah, and that's really important to remember. It's the okay place is the great place to be, because it's a lot easier to go from thriving, amazing, awesome from 0 than it is from -100.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just the awareness and being okay first. And that's, again, that's something that I help people with, I support people with, and I specialize in, is getting to that place of okay first, and then let's move into let's thrive, because why not, you know?
Well, it's the layers. It's the layers again, and like you need that support on each layer to go into the next thing, and also giving yourself a lot of forgiveness and appreciation during that, of saying like there's not like a time frame, like putting expectations of like, well, I want to do all this in like 3 months. You know what I mean? Like people with their bodies, right? Or they want to change their bodies in like 3 months, and knowing that it is a process depending on where you're starting from. And there's no like shame or judgment in that place either. Like your evolution is your evolution, and it's going to kind of unfold exactly the way it needs to.
Yeah, totally. And I just have to again give a plug for what you do, because when I was in that place of, you know, really PTSD, deep depression, tremendous anxiety, I couldn't do the physical stuff that I used to be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, I was running half marathons all the time. I was working out like 5 or 6 days a week, like heavy working out, probably too much, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And it had to, for me, it really had to become, what can I do for my recovery process, even if it's just a little bit each day? Because I
Mm-hmm.
know that being physically active actually impacts your ability to cope with stress and to manage stressful
Mm-hmm.
events. And it affects your hormones in a positive way to be physically active. So, again, what you're doing with people, teaching them, hey, maybe you can't run your half marathon tomorrow, but what can you do? Don't let what
Mm-hmm.
you can do, can't do, keep you from what you can do, is the bottom line. And I'm totally ripping off that quote from somewhere.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
taking
for
the
sure.
first step.
Well, and people do get in that place again, like that overwhelm, either in the physical or emotional realm of like, because I had went through a period where my hormones said "F you," and I couldn't do anything for like 3 months, and like getting back to it, I felt really terrible of like, oh my God, like my strength dropped, like I didn't even know what my baseline was anymore. Like I felt really bad, and I just had to continue to be like forgiveness, 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 because I
Yes.
essentially got myself in that place from being too hard too fast,
Mm-hmm. I can
having
totally
to
relate.
yeah, like having those like harsh expectations and thinking like my evolution has to look like this, right? And like controlling everything versus letting it unfold, because then everything really just will crash.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And that
so
event happened with your hormones to wake you up to that fact, right?
oh, 100%. That was huge. And it happened again and again too. Like because I didn't learn a lesson enough the first time. And then like again, like it was like, no, we're gonna like stumble you a little bit more here. It's like, okay, bring it. Like let me get back up. So yeah,
Yeah,
like,
it's so true. And I'm so proud of you because you did get back up. And that's the thing. And so what I share with people also is, you getting back up is an example for other people. So again, being the pebble in the pond, being, of impacting others, when you get back up, it shows other people, hey, you can get back up too.
oh
And
yeah.
that has helped you with your work with people. I remember when you and I first started working together, and just the way that you were able to have compassion and understanding for, obviously our situations were different, but at the same time, because you had that experience under your belt, you knew that it wasn't realistic to expect me to start pressing. I don't even know what a reasonable amount would be, like 300 pounds, or
Three.
I don't know. But you know what I'm saying, that
Yeah.
that's the cool thing about when you have not only the training, because you do, you're brilliant, to have the training. I know, yes, girl. It's important for us to celebrate ourselves, and
True.
to have the training, and also to have the experiences that you bring to the table. Having this experience that I've had, these experiences has supported me in showing other people, how to walk the path when stuff happens, and how, again, to get out of that stuck place into the okay place and into the thriving place, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
No, and I pull from kind of knowing that my clients or my patients are kind of watching me. Not literally, that they're watching me, but like
Not like
all
creepy big brother kind of.
yeah, hopefully not. But the fact that like I'm moving for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes I have to pull from I have to get strength from like the other people that I'm serving, right? Like they always say, "Oh, Jesse, like you're such an inspiration," but like, right, our patients and our clients have inspired us a lot
Oh,
as well.
absolutely. Oh my gosh. In fact, when I think about people that I work with, I often feel as though I'm getting more. Sorry, my dog is like going bananas here. He's hello.
Baxter.
I know.
Blah, blah.
Ah. I'm gonna put him down and see what happens. Usually that means he starts barking, but we'll
I
see.
was gonna say he's gonna cry.
Yeah. So I say, oftentimes I get more out of what I'm doing with my clients or, you know, when I speak from the stage, I get more from it
Mm.
than I feel like they do, because
Mm.
it impacts me to see the lights go on, to see,
Yeah.
you know, the aha moments, to see someone change when they learn they can dream again. It's really amazing. It's just an incredible gift and blessing, and I'm so grateful, you know, and that does drive you. It does drive your work. You know, yeah, we do this work because, you know, we love it, and we also do it because we're worth it. You know, we're worth it to be, you know, independent entrepreneurs that are pursuing our goals and dreams, and all of that. And again, being the example for other people that, hey, you know, you can do this too, whatever that means for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Guys, what do you have to say about this? What time is it, by the way?
It's 10:38.
See, it's the perfect timing because I can't see my clock. Does anybody have anything that they want to add in the comments? I'm scrolling all these lovely people who came on to join us. Tons of different people. Does anybody have anything to add to this conversation about getting unstuck? Having the strength to get unstuck? If not, I think we'll pop off. I think we had good discussion. I think we actually hit all those bullet points that I
Yeah.
had mentioned that like didn't really plan, but cool. So thank you, Val.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. You know, talking with you you're like my sister, so it's it's so
I love
easy.
Val.
It's so easy. I know. It's like a love fest in here, you guys. I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry, right?
And I'm excited to watch all your things coming. I won't say anything, but I know you're working on creative projects and like things are coming in the future that are going to be really good. And again, like to me, like it's you again stepping into that more authentic self from when I first saw you to like what you're creating now. I was just like, what? Like you're doing what? And you're doing this? And like I was just like so excited. So and again, like that support, like you guys reach out to us if you need people to kind of bring you up into that space because it's vital.
Most
Vital
definitely.
vital to
Mhm.
thrive.
Yes. Yes, sister.
Yes, Jason said great things happen when you surround yourself with inspirational, positive friends. Maria said you guys are on point. Thank you guys.
Aw.
Thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna close out on the Facebook. Thank you, Val. I'm sure we will talk again very soon.
My pleasure, I girl. Love you. All
Love you.
right.
Bye.
Bye.